8.
Don Knotts made millions laugh as Barney Fife, but behind the nervous tics and weird stammering that defined his character lay a man whose real-life anxieties ran deeper than any comedic performance. While audiences saw only the charm that made him a household name, Don carried wounds from a childhood marked by his father's mental illness and his stage fright. Here is the tragedy of Don Knotts, and it is even more sad than you know. The tragedy of Don Knotts. Behind Don Knotts' comedic brilliance lay a deep struggle with fear, particularly fears about his health. It was one of his most persistent and distressing struggles. Don Knotts suffered from hypochondria. Hypochondria, also known as health anxiety or illness anxiety disorder, is a mental health condition characterized by excessive and persistent worry about having a serious illness, despite medical reassurance. People with hypochondria often misinterpret minor symptoms or normal bodily sensations as signs of a severe disease. Several factors can trigger or worsen hypochondria. Media exposure, such as reading or watching news about serious illnesses, can spark anxiety and worry. Personal experiences, like having a serious illness or knowing someone with a serious illness, can also increase health anxiety. Additionally, high levels of stress and anxiety can worsen hypochondria. Other factors can also contribute to the development of hypochondria. Past traumatic experiences, such as a history of neglect, can increase the risk. Family history also plays a role. Having a family history of serious illnesses or health anxiety can make someone more susceptible to developing hypochondria. Social influences, including social media and discussions with friends or family members, can sometimes contribute to health anxiety by sharing alarming health information or experiences. It is difficult to pinpoint what triggered this health struggle, but hypochondria sometimes crippled Don's confidence. This lifelong battle had a profound impact on his personal life and professional career. It often complicated his ability to find peace even in success. He frequently believed he was suffering from deadly illnesses, even when medical exams found no cause for concern. His daughter, Karen Knotts, recalled that her father was often convinced he was dying. Any minor symptom, a cough or a stomachache, could spiral into overwhelming anxiety. He made frequent visits to doctors, not out of a need for attention, but from genuine fear, unknown to him that his end was near. How long did this condition persist, and what finally led to Don's demise? Stay tuned for more details. However, before Don Knotts made such an unforgettable impact in his field, he had his days of humble beginnings. Early life. Don Knotts' humble beginnings started in West Virginia. His destiny as one of America's most beloved comedy actors began to take shape in Morgantown, West Virginia. He was born as the youngest of 4 sons to William Jesse Knotts, a farmer, and his wife, Elsie Luzetta Knotts, whose maiden name was Moore. His parents got married in Spragues, Pennsylvania, and started a family almost immediately after they tied the knot. They probably had no idea that their son would become as widely known as he did. The Knotts family roots ran deep in American soil. Don's English paternal ancestors made the journey to the New World during the 17th century. They were part of the early settlers. They had established themselves in Queen Anne's County, Maryland. Although this later became a controversial aspect of American history, his ancestors played a significant role in the colonial foundation that would eventually become the United States. This ancestral connection to early American history somehow found its way back into Don's portrayal of American characters, particularly his role as Deputy Barney Fife. Don's immediate family consisted of 3 older brothers, Willis, William, and Ralph, who was affectionately known by the nickname Sid. Being the youngest among his brothers placed him in a position where he felt the need to assert himself. He thought up creative ways to get their attention, and this was the first of many skills he would acquire. This early experience of needing to stand out in a crowded field contributed to his later development as a performer who could command attention through humor and character work. Don's birth was a happy surprise. The circumstances surrounding that fateful period of his parents' lives were notable. His mother, Elsie, was 40 when she welcomed him into the world. In an era when women typically had children at a younger age, this made Don a late blessing to the family. This age difference between mother and child may have contributed to a special bond, but it also meant that Don would face the eventual loss of his parents at a young age. The Knotts household was familiar with challenges. Perhaps this is what built his resilience from the very beginning. However, it also had a psychological impact on him. His father, William Jesse Knotts, struggled with schizophrenia. At the time, schizophrenia was a mental illness that was poorly understood and inadequately treated. Matters of mental health were barely given much thought, even in hospitals. Schizophrenia is known as a psychiatric diagnosis, denoting a persistent, often chronic mental illness that is characterized by abnormal perception, thinking, behavior, and emotion. Delusions often mark it. Dealing with a schizophrenic was like dealing with one who had brief moments of insanity. It was tough. William was not only struggling with his mental health, but he also had an unhealthy love for alcohol. He grew increasingly volatile and unpredictable. He could barely be trusted. Sometimes Don's father tried to attack him with a knife. Sometimes his episodes would pose a threat to Don's life. As the youngest, everyone eventually grew up and began to live their lives. Don was left with his parents for a while longer than the rest. These traumatic experiences created a protective mechanism for him. He would retreat inwardly to shield his emotions. These early traumas had a lasting impact on Don's personality. It contributed to the nervous, anxious energy that later became his signature act in most of his comedic performances. The need to withdraw and observe rather than directly confront became a survival mechanism and a form of training for his career as an actor and comedian. When Don was 13 years old, his father passed on due to pneumonia. This could have been a sorrowful situation. It probably was, but it also meant the end of a troubled life. The source of Don's fear and instability was finally gone. Following William Jesse's demise, the responsibility of raising 4 sons fell entirely upon Elsie's shoulders. She operated a boarding house in Morgantown. Through the income she earned, she was able to provide for her children and cover the home expenses. She navigated the challenges of motherhood during one of the toughest periods in American economic history. The Great Depression marked a period of major financial collapse. It was particularly characterized by mass unemployment and limited business activity that lasted from 1929 to 1940 in the U.S. and a similar period in many other countries. The hardship might have affected Elsie emotionally, but she put on a brave front for her children. Perhaps this is where Don gets his resilience from. She lived to see her youngest son achieve fame and success and passed away in 1969 at the age of 84. However, she also endured the heartbreak of losing her son William, who passed away in 1941 at the young age of 31. No parent hopes to attend the burial of a child. This period emotionally tested Elsie. The family found their final resting place together in the family plot at Beverly Hills Memorial Park in Morgantown. Don's education is similar to that of every other young kid in Morgantown. The journey began at Morgantown High School, where he likely first discovered his talents for entertainment and performance. After graduation, like many young men of his generation, he answered the call to serve his country by enlisting in the United States Army during World War II. Following his military service, Don pursued higher education at West Virginia University, remaining close to his roots in Morgantown. He earned a bachelor's degree in education with a minor in speech, graduating in 1948. His choice to minor in speech later served an important purpose. It became the formal training he needed in vocal presentation. During his time at the university, he joined the Phi Sigma Kappa fraternity. He had a social life and tried to balance his passions. When his career finally began to kick off, everything he had been through had prepared him for it. Rise to fame.
And I'm a trapeze artist.
The entertainment industry has seen countless performers struggle through years of uncertainty before finally receiving the recognition they deserve. However, very few stories like Don's demonstrate the persistence required to excel in their field. His journey from a young ventriloquist performing at church functions to becoming a television icon can serve as a guide for a successful career in Hollywood today. Don's entertainment dreams began before he completed high school. His introduction to performance came through ventriloquism and comedy. He would perform skits at school functions and various churches. It was entertaining, but he did not earn much. He was only getting early experience in building stage presence and audience interaction skills. His decision to start performing in churches and schools first was an indication that Don was raised in a conservative environment. After graduating from high school, He decided to pursue his dreams in New York, a city where dreams often meet reality. This was a leap of faith for him, considering he had grown up in a simple, quiet town in West Virginia. This move required him to leave everything he knew and loved and get thrown into a whole new world. Like many aspiring performers, Don came to realize a sad truth. Talent was not enough for success, at least not in the very competitive New York scene. He tried to establish himself in comedy, but most of his attempts failed. He returned home and got his degree. His college experience was interrupted by military service. Joining the U.S. after completing only his freshman year, Don found himself serving from June 21, 1943 to January 6, 1946. Rather than viewing military service as an obstacle to his entertainment ambitions, he discovered ways to merge his performance skills with his military duties. His assignment to the Army's 6,817 Special Services Battalion proved to be an opportunity. It allowed him to spend most of his service time entertaining troops rather than engaging in traditional military activities. During his military service, Don toured the Western Pacific Islands as part of a GI variety show called Stars and Gripes. This experience exposed him to different audiences and helped him refine his comedic delivery under challenging circumstances. Performing for military audiences required a balance of humor and respect. Entertainers needed to boost morale while remaining sensitive to the stresses and hardships faced by servicemen. His ventriloquist act during this period featured a dummy named Danny. According to friend and castmate Al Checo, Don grew to despise the puppet and dramatically disposed of it by throwing it overboard during a sea voyage. Don received military recognition for his dedication to time and service. His awards included the World War II Victory Medal, the Philippine Liberation Medal, the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 4 Bronze Service Stars, the American Campaign Medal, the Army Good Conduct Medal, the Army Marksman Badge with an M1 carbine, and the Honorable Service Lapel Pin. These honors are proof that his service extended beyond entertainment duties. They also included participation in combat zones and training with weapons. His discharge at the rank of Technician Grade 5 suggests that he was not just the battalion performer. He proved himself in service. He displayed a competent performance and leadership potential. When he finally returned to civilian life, he transitioned smoothly. He got married and moved back to New York. It was time to get back to his dreams. He took advantage of the lessons he learned the last time to break into show business. The connections he made with the Special Services branch worked in his favor when he needed a breakthrough. These military entertainment networks provided him with introductions and recommendations that opened doors previously closed to him. His work began to gain traction. It was just the help he needed. He began to perform at clubs and on the radio. He developed the character Windy Wales. Wales was a know-it-all personality whom Don always brought out anytime he was on the radio show, Bobby Benson and the B-Bar B Riders. Television gave Don his first big breakthrough when he joined the cast of the soap opera Search for Tomorrow, appearing from 1953 to 1955. This steady work allowed him to develop his television presence while providing him with financial stability. His career journey accelerated dramatically in 1956 when he joined Steve Allen's variety show as part of Allen's repertory company. His performances in Allen's mock, man-in-the-street interviews were legendary. He consistently portrayed extremely nervous characters and established his comedic persona. His ability to create memorable, distinctive characters proved that he was meant for the big screen. The collaboration with Andy Griffith began during their Broadway run in No Time for Sergeants. This lasted from October 20, 1955, through September 14, 1957. Don played 2 roles, as listed in the playbill: Corporal Manual Dexterity and a preacher. He demonstrated his versatility as a performer. The success of this production led to the 1958 film adaptation. This was his big movie debut, and he was doing it beside Griffith. He acted the role of a stuck-up Air Force test administrator whose carefully ordered routine becomes disrupted by a provincial recruit's antics, perfectly capturing his talent for playing anxious, uptight characters whose composure gradually opens up through comedic circumstances. This was just the beginning, and he was proving to be a driving force in the entertainment industry. Don Knotts' contribution to comedy.
Very talented boy. Not exactly a boy.
The journey to success in Hollywood is not akin to a walk in the park. His career from television supporting actor to film star and corporate spokesperson is no small accomplishment. After establishing himself as this cliché, nervous comedic character through his television work, he made a strategic transition into film comedy. This not only placed him on the big screen, but it also brought in the big checks. He made a cameo appearance in the ensemble comedy It's a Mad, 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 Mad World in 1963. Don showed the world that he was capable of holding his own among Hollywood's established comedy veterans while maintaining his own comedic identity. Warner Bros. Recognized his potential as a leading man. The movies he had featured in were successes. He got cast in The Incredible Mr. Limpet in 1964. The American live-action or animated hybrid comedy film was produced by Warner Bros. The story revolves around Henry Limpet, played by Don Knotts, a man who transforms into a talking fish and assists the U.S. Navy in locating and destroying Nazi submarines. The film was based on the 1942 novel Mr. Limpet by Theodore Pratt. The film was a success. This success led to a 5-film contract with Universal Studios, beginning with The Ghost and Mr. Chicken in 1966. These films consistently drew upon the nervous character traits that had made Don famous. Whether playing a timid man confronting supernatural mysteries, an unlikely astronaut, a reluctant gunfighter, or an accidental romantic figure, Don consistently delivered performances that balanced physical comedy with genuine emotional vulnerability. He created characters that audiences could simultaneously laugh at and empathize with. Don kept close to his television roots by appearing on The Andy Griffith Show 5 times in the 1960s. This earned him 2 Emmy Awards. The period between his film success and his return to regular television work in 1979 revealed both Knotts' versatility and the challenges of maintaining momentum in an entertainment career. His work as spokesman for Dodge trucks during the late 1960s and early 1970s showed his commercial appeal and ability to represent brands authentically. However, his attempt to host The Don Knotts Show, a variety show sitcom hybrid on NBC in 1970, proved unsuccessful. The series' low ratings and short duration, combined with Don's discomfort with the variety show format, showed that even established performers must carefully consider projects that align with their strengths and audience expectations. Throughout this period, Don remained active through guest appearances on popular shows such as The Bill Cosby Show and Here's Lucy. He also explored voice acting in the new Scooby-Doo movies. There, he voiced animated versions of himself in episodes that cleverly incorporated his Barney Fife persona. His stage work, including appearances as Felix Unger in Neil Simon's The Odd Couple, alongside Art Carney, and touring in Last of the Red Hot Lovers, demonstrated his passion for live performance and showcased his ability to bring scripts to life, infusing them with his comedic perspective. His partnership with Tim Conway from 1975 marked another significant phase in his career. They collaborated on a series of family-oriented slapstick films. Their work together in Disney's The Apple Dumpling Gang and its sequel, The Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again, along with independent productions like The Prize Fighter and The Private Eyes, demonstrated how easily Don could collaborate with a team to create films that appealed to younger audiences. His other Disney collaborations such as Gus, No Deposit, No Return, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, and Hot Lead and Cold Feet made him a household name among kids. The most significant development in Don's later television career came with his role as Ralph Furley on Three's Company beginning in 1979. Joining an already successful series as a replacement for the departing Ropers required considerable skill in joining an established ensemble cast. According to John Ritter, the existing cast members were initially intimidated by Don Knotts' star status, yet he successfully became an integral part of the show's dynamic. When Suzanne Summers left because of a contract dispute in 1981, writers started redistributing material originally intended for her character to Don. His later career years reflected a performer who had grown comfortable with himself and his position in Hollywood. His reunion with Andy Griffith in the made-for-television film Return to Mayberry in 1986 provided fans with a sense of nostalgia. Fans of the show were able to look back at the characters they had grown to love. His recurring role as Les Calhoun on Matlock from 1988 to 1992 maintained his connection with Griffith and also helped him introduce his comedy to new audiences. The recognition Don received during his final years, including his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2000 and the renaming of a street in his hometown of Morgantown, West Virginia to Don Knotts Boulevard, served as an acknowledgement of his professional achievements and his significance to American popular culture. His transition to primarily voice work after 2000, including contributions to Scooby-Doo, Night of 100 Frights, Hermie and Friends, and Chicken Little, showed how easy it was for him to adapt to the demands of the industry. His relationships were one of the important parts of his life. His close friendship with John Ritter was a testament to that fact. They remained friends throughout their respective careers. He even attended John's funeral in 2003. Don was married thrice. Some referred to him as a ladies' man. His 3 marriages to Catherine Metz, Laura Lee Chushna, and Frances Yarbrough, as well as his role as a single father to his daughter Karen, portrayed him as a devoted father. However, he wasn't fortunate enough to live long enough to enjoy the fame he attained. What cut Don Knotts' life short, and how did the entertainment industry react to his demise? The loss of an icon? In the pre-internet age, he couldn't Google his symptoms, but his imagination filled in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. Despite global fame and multiple Emmy Awards, he lived with a constant sense of physical vulnerability. It was a terrible way to live. Eventually, his fears caught up to him in real life. In his 50s, he was diagnosed with macular degeneration. Macular degeneration is a progressive eye disease that affects the macula, the part of the retina responsible for central vision and color perception. It has a reputation for being the leading cause of vision loss in older adults. Several factors can increase the risk of developing macular degeneration. Age is a factor. There is a frightening likelihood of developing the condition after the age of 50. Family history also plays a role, with individuals having a higher risk if their relatives have been diagnosed with the condition. Lifestyle factors such as smoking can damage blood vessels, including those in the eyes, and increase the risk of macular degeneration. Obesity and high blood pressure are also contributing factors, as they can damage blood vessels and impact overall eye health. For a performer who relied heavily on facial expression and physical timing, losing his sight was devastating. Don Knotts began experiencing blurred central vision, which made reading scripts, recognizing faces, and even moving confidently across sets increasingly difficult. This added a new layer to his internal struggles. It was no longer just a matter of his anxieties. Not only did he fear illness, but now he was living with one. This time it was an irreversible one that threatened both his independence and his career. Don did not allow the condition to define him, however. He was a goal-getter. He adapted to the circumstances fate had forced him to confront. He made use of memory, assistance from colleagues, and let's not forget, resilience to continue working in film and television well into his later years. Many entertainers who were as successful as he was probably would have ended their careers early. His sense of humor remained intact, and his performances stayed sharp, even as his eyesight faded. A good performer dedicates his time and energy to his craft. A great one makes the dedication regardless of what personal misfortunes he may be facing. Don Knotts' battle with hypochondria and macular degeneration tells the tale of a man who came toe-to-toe with fear and conquered it the best way he could. Everyone thought his greatest gift was his ability to elicit laughter. His greatest gift was the perseverance he carried within himself while creating humor for others. This is why, when he passed on, nothing ever remained the same again. On a chilly February evening in 2006, Hollywood and the world of comedy at large went dark as Don Knotts breathed his last. He passed away at age 81 on the 24th of February at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. He lost his life due to pulmonary and respiratory complications of pneumonia related to lung cancer. His demise, as reported, followed months of treatment at Cedars-Sinai. During this period, he experienced an encouraging recovery that brought him home. His family was happy to see that they were not going to lose their father. Unfortunately, he relapsed not long after the recovery. He was returned to the hospital, but all efforts proved futile. His death had a profound impact on the comedy world. His loyal friend, Andrew Griffith, visited him at the hospital a few hours before he died. Press coverage was arranged as soon as possible, and obituaries poured in from great figures in the entertainment industry. Tributes came in their numbers, and comedians after him continued to reference him as their inspiration. Following his death, Don was laid to rest at Westwood Memorial Park in Los Angeles. It was a fitting final resting place among his fellow stars. His original headstone was simple. It was a plain granite marker. Today it has been adorned with a bronze plaque featuring renditions of his most celebrated roles. His career might have reached its ultimate end, but his memory remained etched in that quiet Los Angeles cemetery and the hearts of fans and fellow comedians. His legacy has endured since that time. In Morgantown, Don Knotts' legacy took on a life of its own. On the 23rd of July, 2016, almost 10 years after his death, a life-sized bronze statue of him was unveiled in front of the Metropolitan Theater on High Street. Jamie Lester sculpted the statue. The statue had Don sitting with his right hand gripping a replica of Barney Fife's service cap. His left hand held a script from the 1966 film The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. This was a nod to the breadth of his career. Many locals in the area had only great things to say about Don. They remembered him as very normal and humble. Despite his fame and success, it never got to his head. The statue always seems to invite selfies and brief moments of nostalgia. The unveiling of the statue fell on the festival later named Don Knotts Days. The festival was established to commemorate his life and numerous achievements. He was known as the prodigal son of Morgantown. The festival was described as a celebration of the life of Morgantown's prodigal son. The event featured replica police cruisers, Barney Fife impersonators, and testimonials from friends like his daughter Karen, who shared both humorous and tender moments from their life together. Everyone came together to honor his legacy. This displayed the community's dedication to honoring Don Knotts. His impact could not be described in words. The statue stands on a pedestal, with a star embedded in the sidewalk. These details are significant to Morgantown's recognition and his later Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2000. Knotts' demise was not just the loss of a performer. It served as a reminder of how easily a star's life could be snuffed out. He left a legacy that filled his fans with laughter every time he was remembered. His colleagues spoke of his generosity, his professionalism, and his dedication to the craft. Contemporary entertainers have credited him for his unique approach to performances. It is safe to assume that Don will not be a figure forgotten anytime soon. Don Knotts' career represents a masterclass in entertainment longevity. He made an impact in an industry people rarely take seriously. He made strategic career choices to get to where he needed to be and left a legacy for every other small-town boy interested in the art of creating humor long after he was gone. What are your thoughts concerning the impact of Don Knotts' tragic demise? Let us know in the comments. Do not forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.